Hi class, so today I'm going to show you how to make sea creature sculptures out of Model Magic. Some of my kindergarten first graders may remember making them in class, which is totally fine, but I'm going to show you guys how you can make them at home or just make them for fun. Today I am going to be using Model Magic. If you don't have Model Magic at home, that is totally okay. You can use modeling clay, you can use Play-Doh, Silly Putty, but Model Magic works the best, and I think it's going to work the best for the technique that I'm going to show you how to make them. I've made some Model Magic sea creatures for examples already. I have a whale, a sea turtle, and a stingray. So normally I would take a pack of Model Magic and I would rip it in half. You get a really good size Model Magic. If you want to make a larger sculpture, that's totally fine. I like to just rip it in half because the stuff is pretty expensive. And then you can make more than one. You could share it with someone. And then normally to start, I kind of roll it up into a ball. And then I gave my students some worksheet examples of different sea creatures that they could make. I'm just going to show you how to make a seahorse. And what I've done is I actually haven't ripped apart my Model Magic because you can rip apart Model Magic and stick it back together, as you can see I did with this one. It holds together well, but it's always best to make one sculpture that is totally one piece, so that way none of the pieces accidentally break off and it stays together a lot nicer. So I'm just going to take my sculpture and I'm going to start pinching it to make my shape. So a sea creature or a seahorse has a long body. So I'm just going to start pinching it with my fingers. So I have a nice body shape. Now this half of my sculpture is going to be its head and its neck, while this half is going to be its tail. So I'm just going to pinch this and make this skinnier, and I can start shaping it, turning it into a looping tail. Now I'm going to take the top part of my sculpture and I'm going to start pinching it to make a head. So I'm going to take the top portion, pinch it to make the head of my sea creature, my seahorse. Now a horse's head looks very similar to a horse, which is why they call it a seahorse. It's got kind of a flat little nose, horse-shaped head. It has a little belly, a looping tail. Now some things the seahorse also has. It has its fin. I can pinch. Maybe one on top of his head. So I think I got a good body of my seahorse. Now if I wanted to, I could take a pencil and I could make a little dot for the eye. I could make some little texture marks on its body. I could use my fingernail to make little texture marks. I wanted to make little texture marks on its fins with my nails, I could do that as well. And now it's going to take about 1 day for your sea creature to dry out. You don't want it to be easy to bend. When you start painting it, you want it to dry. So I'm just going to let it dry for a day and I'll come back and show you how we can paint it. So I'm going to make another Model Magic sea creature while my seahorse is drying. So again, I have half a piece of Model Magic. I'm going to roll it up into a ball. Now I'm going to make another sea turtle. Sea turtles are one of my favorite sea creatures. So to do that, you can see that there is a head, small tail, 2 little legs, and the body. I don't want my Model Magic Sea Creatures to be too skinny, because if it is skinny, parts will break off in the drying process. So I'm just going to take my ball of Model Magic. I'm going to start shaping the shape of my seashell first, or my sea turtle shell. Now the shape of my shell is kind of like a half circle. So I got my half circle, and now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to pinch the sides and the bottom to create my head, my tail, and my 2 feet. So I'm just going to pinch, 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 to get the shape of the head. Now if parts of your sculpture start to morph, you can kind of push it back to where you want it. I'm going to pinch the back to get my tail. I'm going to flip it, pinch 2 little mountains to get my 1 foot. 1 more to get my 2nd foot. And then I can just keep pinching to get the shape that I want. So I'm pinching right between the head and the shell, so you can see that there is a difference between where the head stops and the shell starts. I did that with my tail and my shell, and I did that with my feet as well. Now if I want to, I can go in and add some marks onto my shell's turtle to make it look more like a shell. I just did that with a pencil. Or you can just take your fingernail, that works just as well. Just make a little bit of detailed marks into your sculpture. When it is done, you're going to let it dry, and then I'll come back and show you how to paint them. Hi guys, so it has been 24 hours since I made my Model Magic Sea Creatures. I got my seahorse and my sea turtle. They are firmer now, so we can go ahead and start adding our watercolor onto them. These ones I showed you yesterday, they are finished. They have a very nice watercolor, sea creature kind of coloring to them, but we aren't going to be using paint. We are actually going to be using Crayola marker. So all you are going to need is some Crayola markers, a paintbrush, and a small little cup of water. This only works with Crayola markers. It will not work with any other brand. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is move these aside since they are dry. I'm going to have a paper plate or a surface underneath so that way my color doesn't get on anything else. And my suggestion is that you choose 2 colors or less for your sea creatures, because if you have more than 2 colors, it'll get kind of muddy and it won't look as beautiful watercolor like this one. So for my sea horse, I'm going to choose a purple and a pink Crayola marker, and I'm just gonna go ahead and scribble some color down. So I'm just going to use the side of my marker and scribble some of that color down. Now it doesn't look pretty right now, but I promise you it will look pretty when we are finished. You don't need to color the entire sculpture. You just need to get some color down. And now I'm going to take my purple and I'm going to color the top fin, side fin, because it is a sculpture in the round, it means you can look at it on all 4 sides. So we want to make sure that we're coloring both sides of our sculpture. So now comes the awesome, magical, fun part. I'm gonna take my paintbrush, just get a little bit of water in my paintbrush, and I'm going to spread my marker around my sculpture. And it makes all of the color blend and turn into a pretty watercolor. All my white spaces are filled and my seahorse is done. Now Crayola marker does get some paint or some marker all over your fingers. It totally comes off because it is washable. Now I'm going to set that sculpture aside to dry. And now I'm going to get started on my sea turtle. I'm going to do the same thing. Take green and blue Crayola marker. Color my head and my feet green.